Good evening, everybody. It's the I Told You Show, and it's hard to believe we are at episode 11. We have a really great guest in the studio tonight. We're going to be talking about Amendment 4 for those of you that want to be educated voters. And my special guest, Candy, is with me tonight. We have some issues that we're going to discuss on the Housing Rehabilitation Grant Loan Program. And here we go. Stick with us. And we're back. Well, Candy, episode 11, how do you think about that?
I can't even, when you said it, I can't even believe it.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Like yesterday we started doing this.
It's been flying by. You know, I tell people, I think we've only been doing it for a couple of weeks. No, this is 11
months,
weeks. Yeah, it's crazy.
The best thing is when you read in the comments, though, when people are looking forward to the next episode, or after we've done one, they say they found the information informative.
Yeah,
so that's the whole idea of this. So
that's what it's about. It's educating people, getting local issues out, getting some national issues out, which is what we're going to be discussing tonight.
Yep.
So let me introduce our guest. We have with us tonight Andrew Shirvell. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, Alan. Thank you for having me on your show.
No, I appreciate you coming in. I really do. So we're going to talk tonight about a passion of yours and a passion of ours and information that we need to get out to everybody, and that is Amendment 4. So, go ahead.
Well, Alan, this Amendment 4 is perhaps the greatest threat to unborn children in Florida that they've ever faced. That is because the abortion industry in this state is seeking to change our state constitution so that accessing abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy up until the moment of birth becomes a supercharged state constitutional right written right into our state's governing document, something that the legislature and the governor cannot change very readily. Of course, there is a process, but it would be almost impossible to reverse if Amendment 4 were to pass in November.
So rather than making it just legislative issues or a legislative rule, they actually want to change the Constitution.
That's correct. Something very radical, because if you look at the state constitutions, all 50 states, they're all governed by a document. Okay, unlike the federal constitution, state constitutions actually do change quite often, not only through the amendment process, but if you go back to when a state has been admitted to the union, such as Florida, the Constitution itself has been actually completely rewritten. So Florida's current Constitution only came into force in 1968. And so there's a variety of ways that state constitutions can be amended. Here in Florida, there's several ways, and from my perspective, actually too many ways. And one of the ways that is actually at the forefront with Amendment 4 is this Citizens Petition Initiative. So the abortion industry got together, they funded a petition campaign and asking Floridians to sign a petition so that this proposal would get on the ballot for November of 2024 and actually be voted on by the electorate of Florida. So that's one way here in Florida we can actually change our state's governing document. And that's happened, actually probably too often. And it really does an end run around the legislature and the governor, because what's the point of having an elected body of representatives if we're just going to start voting as an electorate on every conceivable policy issue? That's not really the proper scope of government. It just, even if you don't agree totally on the abortion issue one way or the other, I think most reasonable people can see that this isn't exactly the way our state government should be operating. It really, the debate should really belong in the legislative chambers, and whatever the state legislature comes forth with on a particular topic is what should be the law of the land in the state.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. I think that altering our Constitution based on people's agenda desires is completely the wrong way to go on that. What's your input on that, Candy?
I I actually was going to vote yes on that until I read everything in the summary, especially is where it lays out exactly what he's talking about there. You have to really read it, and you have to really understand it. Like, you literally have to go in a quiet room and you have to read it. The abortion issue has been not an issue, but a topic in my household for, a long time. I have a daughter, my mother, with it in the news all the time. Of course, it's been talked about, but my perspective on it has changed. I'm definitely going to vote no, of course. It's just, accidents happen. There are medical issues where it's possible, where it's needed, but not all the way up to 9 months. It's a woman's choice, yes, but when it's past a certain time, no. There's another human involved. So I'm going to vote no on it. From a woman's perspective, I want to have limits on what people can do, because not everybody thinks with perspective.
Yeah, and one of the scary parts about it for me is, all the way up to 9 months. That's a living, breathing.
I know it's horrifying.
Yeah. I mean, that's murder at that stage.
Right, and I want the young
murder
people
at
that are
most
listening.
of the stages, actually.
The young people that are listening, you guys have a way better advantage than I had when I was your age. I'm talking about 16, early 20s. We actually have ultrasounds now they start so early where you can see everything and see it's actually a person.
Yeah.
Way sooner than we thought when I was 16, and I'm in my 50s. So just remember, when you make your choices in life, you have to think about it with perspective and have all the information. We're not telling you what to think. We're just trying to give you the information so you can think how to think.
Right.
That's all.
So, Andrew, for you, I know this is a passion that you're out there hitting the various precincts all around the state, but this is a national issue, not just a state of Florida issue.
Absolutely, Alan. Actually, this election year, 10 states are facing similar ballot initiatives, both red and blue states. So there's including Florida, there's 10 states. And, I'm the founder and executive director of Flagler Voice for the Unborn, and we are a pro-life grassroots lobbying organization statewide. We're based in Tallahassee. We've been around now for about 5 years. We lobbied heavily for our state's current Heartbeat Protection Act, which prohibits most abortions after 6 weeks gestation here in Florida. Now, of course, we're a little bit more hardline, what we consider a hardline group. We really want to make Florida like Texas, which Texas has completely prohibited all abortions, except, of course, to save the life of the mother. And those are not really considered abortions. The abortion industry sells us this notion that abortions are necessary. They're necessary. It's a needed thing because women's health will be in danger. But, if you look at any pro-life state in this country right now, and including Texas, which I call the granddaddy of them all, because that's the second largest state in the entire union, and they've been able to close down every single abortion center, and that's a huge feat. But that's what the U.S. Supreme Court empowered the states to do when the Supreme Court reversed Roe versus Wade on June 24th, 2022. So it's the state's prerogative. Texas chose something different. Florida has gone with this Heartbeat Protection Act. But I think overall, the grassroots of the pro-life movement, this has been a long time coming in terms of our Heartbeat Protection Act. This is something that we wanted to see happen for a long time, because Florida actually was a national leader in the wrong way. It led many states in terms of the amount of abortions that occurred here. In fact, in 2023 alone, we had over 82,000 unborn children killed in abortions. The vast majority of those abortions were for elective reasons, meaning for whatever reason, it wasn't medically necessary. It wasn't even because the mother's physical health was endangered. Those are rare circumstances, especially with modern technology. So the abortion industry likes to sell something. They're selling a product. They're selling something to women and to families that is actually detrimental to women's, it's been shown in many studies, women's mental, emotional, spiritual well-being. and family life overall. Abortion pits people against each other. It pits the mother against the father, pits grandparents against their daughter or son-in-law. It pits all sorts of family members with various views on this issue. And the resulting strife, as we've seen for the last 50 years in this country before Roe versus Wade was overturned, has been tearing us apart. And the fact that we now are in Florida, where we can't hide now behind a court decision. The people of Florida have the opportunity to either approve this totally radical, vicious amendment, or they have the opportunity to reject it and say, no, we're going to go in a different direction. We're going to value life. We're going to work with those mothers that face these unplanned pregnancies, and we're going to support them, and we're going to do everything we can to build a culture of life, because in the end, that is the foundation of our country. If we are going to be pro-death, and we're going to allow tens of thousands of children to be murdered, in our state every year, what does that tell us about as a society? How do we really think we're going to face all these other problems that plague our society today? It all stems from a disrespect for life from its very beginning all the way up until the end. I mean, people today think nothing. You see these horrible stories on the news where people are pushing women and children, into trains and doing all these kind of deranged things that you never saw before. And it all stems from this fundamental lack of respect for human life. And the irony is, Alan, that we now have the medical technology that shows us clearly more than ever before, they call it a window into the womb, that when another human being's heart is beating and they have 10 fingers and 10 toes, that's not part of your body. That's somebody else. And that's a human thing, because we all come from our mother's wombs. That's supposed to be the most safest place in the world. And instead it's turned into this, look at the fact that we're even having this crazy debate here in Florida whether we should legalize it all the way up until the moment of birth. I mean, that's fundamentally disturbing. It's disturbing that that there are people in our state that are actually promoting this initiative, but I don't think it's going to pass. Florida is going to be the bulwark that stops these initiatives, and that's because we have so many great factors in our favor here on the pro-life side. One is that you need 60% of the electorate to approve a change to the state constitution. So 60% of Florida voters need to approve Amendment 4. And if you look at some of the other states, including Ohio, where these type of amendments have passed before, Ohio's pro-abortion amendment passed in 2023. That's kind of a microcosm of Florida in many ways, and especially in terms of partisan breakdown. That only passed with 57% of the vote. So they didn't need the 60% threshold there, but they still didn't even get to the 60%. And the other thing is that the Republican Party of Florida has succeeded in gaining at least 1 million voter registration over Democrats. Now, that's not to say that all those Republicans are going to vote against Amendment 4. That's why pro-life grassroots advocates are out knocking on doors, handing out literature, because we have to tell the truth about what this amendment does. It defies partisan labels, but make no mistake about it, the abortion industry and the Democratic Party are behind Amendment 4. So if you're a Republican and you're conservative, or you're a Christian, or you're a person of faith, or really, I call it, you have a functioning conscience, you have to vote no on Amendment 4. It is just a purely evil, diabolical plot from the abortion industry. It would make Florida a permanent abortion destination state, not only in the South, not only for this hemisphere, but because Europe's laws, as liberal as Europe has become, Europe does not permit abortions in the 7th and 8th and 9th months of pregnancy. But you know what? They'll all be shipped here to Florida, and current communities that don't have abortion centers, like Palm Coast, actually like all of Flagler County, you will see an abortion center open here I predict within 5 years if Amendment 4 opens. it is going to be, and I hate to say it like this because it sounds cavalier, but it's almost going to be like seeing a McDonald's on the corner. It's not just going to be Floridians obtaining abortions. It will be a total industry. It's something so horrible that we have to stop it now. And Floridians, I think, are waking up to the truth. That's why I believe in all my heart that Amendment 4 will not pass here in Florida.
Yeah. Well, and on part of what you just said was something that you were mentioning, Candy, and that's that the technology now allows us to see what we weren't able to see before in the womb itself.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Right. So that's just, I mean, it's a big decision to have a child, and having a child should be a decision that's made. But, accidents do happen with people, and there are medical instances where it is necessary. And I just don't see a doctor not helping somebody if their life is in danger. That's a completely different thing, but they want to allow it all the way up to the last day. And I just, honestly, I can't agree with that. And I think back to when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, when I could start voting. I think if I would have heard that, I think then I probably would have voted no also. I thought that was just about giving a woman the choice. Okay. If you read the whole thing, like I said before, it's not about just giving her a choice. It's about a whole host of other things. That's why you have to vote no.
Yeah. And I agree. And it's not, I mean,
it's not really a black and white subject.
It's not a black and white subject,
hard.
but when we're talking, months into a pregnancy, we're talking murder.
Right.
It really is. It's just murder.
I mean, you're pregnant by then. I mean, I've had 3 children. You know that you're pregnant by then. And he, like Andrew said, most abortions are by choice. So yes, we're going to allow you to have the choice to have an abortion, but we're going to tell you when it's too far and when it's been too long and you don't have the choice anymore, because then it's murder.
Yeah.
I don't want to give somebody to have the choice to murder somebody.
I don't want to legalize murder.
No.
And that's and especially as you were mentioning earlier, Andrew, we're 9 months, or even 6 months.
Read the summary.
Yeah. It's this isn't right. This isn't right, and it's thousands, tens of thousands, of abortions, and in the case of saving mother's life or choosing which one to live and stuff, that happens so infrequently that it shouldn't even be part of the discussion.
No,
in
because
my mind.
the woman, the mother, and the doctor are going to make that decision right then. That's not even part of this issue. They're trying to scare people into thinking that if we don't say no to this, that they're going to let a mother and a child die if, like they say, a lady has a brain tumor, like the new commercial they have out.
Right.
That lady had her baby back then, and the baby's like, they're all older now, so they didn't let her die back then. That's still not going to change. That part of the law is not going to change.
No.
It's not part of this conversation.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got to this point in our society where, like you said earlier, that we're even having a debate about it.
Abortion on demand should not be a debate.
People have been desensitized to the sanctity and beauty and value of life, and when you bring it to this point where I don't understand how anybody could vote yes to this. I really don't.
And even scarier, Alan, is that if you look at the financial report for the Political Action Committee supporting Amendment 4, there are a lot of big groups that are supporting it, a lot of out-of-state money, but look through it, because there are thousands of individual Floridians that are giving to Amendment 4. And we were at a vast financial disadvantage on the pro-life side. We have other advantages, but we went through. But the pro-abortion side has raised close to $50 million as of the last reporting period. But the pro-life side, all of us all together, and there are multiple political committees and all sorts of groups like mine doing things. We're doing ours as an independent expenditure, but all of us together haven't even come close to 10 million. So the disparity is, and we have the governor, out there actually forcefully campaigning against Amendment 4, which is a blessing in and of itself. I give him credit for, sticking his neck out in a way that he didn't have to do, and many other governors haven't done. So that is a good thing. And I've made no secret of the fact that I don't necessarily agree with the governor on other things. I've actually think that he didn't go far enough with our state's law. And, I do probably have not probably, but I have a fundamental difference of opinion with people like Candy on when abortion should be legal or illegal. But that's okay, because the Democratic debate belongs with the people's representatives in Tallahassee, and that's where it should be hashed out. And we have to have all perspectives heard, and that's how you mesh out a law. But to have this one-size-fits-all approach, stick it in the state's governing document, and they're almost impossible to reverse, that's wrong. Yeah. That's wrong. It's fundamentally wrong from a constitutional perspective. It's not right.
Well, I have to tell you, I appreciate that I don't think that you and Candy are that far off in your ideas, but what I do appreciate is that we can come in here, be on different sides of an issue. We're not on different sides, but we have people who have been in here and we've been on different sides of party lines and stuff. But we can have an open, honest, and truthful discussion about it. Not a debate, a discussion. Yeah, be adults and get the information out, and then the voter can decide which way they want to go. But honestly, when you think about, a premature baby born just several weeks early is viable. It will survive, and at 9 months, they.
It's hard to even think of it and talk of it.
I can't. I really can't. Think of it and talk of it either. But on a different note, lightening it up just a hair, you've lived in Palm Coast before.
I have, Alan. I was a full-time resident of Palm Coast from 2013 to 2019. It's like my second home, and we are a statewide group. So, but I get out with the grassroots, the grassroots advocates, the people that do the work, the frontliners, the people that are out there volunteering without any sort of pay or rewards, out there praying with women, working in these women's health centers to benefit, women that want to choose life, and that are out there right now canvassing all over the state. They're the heart and soul of the pro-life movement. We wouldn't be a pro-life movement if we didn't have a true, authentic passion for protecting our unborn brothers and sisters and their mothers and fathers and families. But that springs from the work that the pro-life movement has done. They never gave up. They never gave up, and we're never going to give up. Regardless of what happens with the vote on Amendment 4, I can guarantee you this. The pro-life movement is not going away in Florida or anywhere else. As long as babies are facing the threat of death via abortion or any other harm, there's going to be people out there speaking the truth and defending them.
Yeah, well, and I support that 100%. Education and knowledge allows a woman to walk into it open-eyed, and I think that if they had the information, that the vote would be in a different direction. And I appreciate you coming in and doing that. But before we end the show tonight, there is one other subject that Candy would like to discuss, and that is the Housing Rehabilitation Grant and Loan Program.
Yeah, we discussed this last night at the Flooding Advisory Board meeting last night. They're getting to be very informative, actually. So you may want to go, especially if your house was one of the ones that the surveyors came to, because you can actually see the survey up on the big screen and it can be explained to you. It does make things quite a bit clearer. But I wanted to speak to the people in the Flooded and Flagler group that are on a fixed income, elderly on Social Security, or just low income. Maybe you only have one income and you have 4 people, so that makes you low income. On November 16th, it's a Saturday, from 10 to noon at the community center. You can go and meet Miss Jackie. She's in charge of the Palm Coast Housing Rehabilitation Grant and Loan Program. She actually also works with HUD. So they have a program to where if you can show that you have structural damage from the water sitting in your yard, they will send a HUD inspector out there to look at your damage and the cause of your damage, and you can apply for a loan to have that fixed. Now, I know you hear me say loan, but the loan is 0 interest rate. And if you keep the house for 10 years after you get the loan is completely forgiven. So some people that need foundation fixing, things that related to the water down on the bottom, maybe cracks on your patio, maybe water damage inside. If you have documentation and proof of that and haven't had it fixed.
You're talking about man-made flooding.
Right. The man-made flooding from the higher builds. Yes. You can go to this meeting and you can actually apply. And she gets, I think, $500,000. I think it was $450,000 a year to give out to people. So I would definitely look into that if you're having issues.
Give the date again.
It is, I don't have my glasses on. It's November 16th, Saturday, November 16th, from 10 a.m. to noon at the community center down in the center of Palm Coast Parkway. I really urge everybody to go. It's very informative.
Yeah. And I'll make sure that we put that information in the description to this video so that we have it there.
Good. Awesome. I'll put it on my page too.
This has been great. Do you have any last words?
If you want to get involved in canvassing against Amendment 4, go to FloridaVoiceForTheUnborn.com.
FloridaVoiceForTheUnborn.com. I'll
Yes,
put that
sir.
in the description as well.
Thank you
I
for coming
appreciate
in.
you coming in. Yeah, this has been really great. Thank you very much.
Thank you
And
for having me.
Thank you, Candy, for coming in yourself and
No
being the
problem.
co-host again.
Happy Friday, Palm Coast.
I think we've had another great show, and I think they're getting better every time.
I do too.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming on,
Coming on,
and watching the show. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Have a great week.